September 9th. Welcome to the September 19th Executive Full Board, Executive Committee meeting of Manhattan Community Board 11. My name is Xavier. I'm the chair of CB11. This meeting is called to order at 6:35 p.m. tonight. We're joined by District Manager Angel Messani. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. One, no one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand. Should not engage in back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. Members participating via Zoom, you can find the raise hand button by first clicking the participants icon to access the panel where the button is located. If you have any technical issues, please relay your difficulties to staff in the chat. The chat should not be used to discuss most topics of March record. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic of the discussion. Thank you. With that, we will call the roll.
Committee members, when I call your name, please answer present. Jose Altamirano. Stephanie Arroyo. Adem Brija. Rosa Diaz.
Present.
Jessica Elliott.
Who's going to be late? It's on our way.
Nelson Rama.
Present.
Claudia Perez.
Present.
Entrele, mi amor.
Asher Rodriguez. Xavier Santiago.
Present.
Isaac Scott.
Present.
Amory Vasquez.
Present.
Jason Villanueva. Michelle Wiltshire Clement. We have four.
Michelle is excused for this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office. It's posted on our website's meeting. If there are no objections, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Board members who wish to object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand. But we recognize. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. Moving on, the minutes from our last board meeting were distributed. There are no objections, and that includes June as well as our August meeting. There are no objections to adopting those minutes. If you wish to object, please raise your hand. Seeing no objection, the minutes from June and August meetings are particularly approved. On September announcements on September 24th, we will be having our public hearing for taking the district of budget request fiscal year 2026 and the land use applications related to the proposed beacon mixed use development project. Are there any other announcements here?
Jose has now joined.
Jose is now joining. Great, I did this weekend. I believe we have the East Rutland COAD is having an event this Saturday at Charter School, and I believe that's you're going to table there with us.
Yes, I'll be there tabling on behalf of CB11 and another choice youth and family outreach. So I'm gonna kind of split the table down with resources.
Don't forget the banner.
No, I'm not.
Great, and you can take any lid with you as well. There's also, I will try to swing by kids on duty as well. Really good to see everyone. Carol, on that whole sheet, that's a great job. Rosa, announcement.
Yeah, sorry, my brain kind of froze when you said that. But this Saturday is also the District 4 Welcome Back to School in PS7 in 120th Street in Lexington Avenue. If anyone is able to join, please do so. I am unable to go. I have something else. But if anyone wants to go, please go.
Is there a flyer?
There is a flyer. I will send it to you.
Thank you.
Yes, we have flyers here in the office and the staff and I will be there on Saturday.
There you go. Fantastic. Thank you. Great. We had one other quick one. Carrie had sent out an email this afternoon, this Friday, which is tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's going to be an activation of 101st Street license by NYC Public Design Commission and American Society of Landscape Architects in Hawaii. And that will be going on. So I'm going to try to swing by for that here as well. I want to say thank you to those that showed up to report you can help. We made those announcements. We got to keep supporting all of our partners. And with that, those are the conclude our announcements. We have our presentations and discussions. Committee discussion on goals for 2024 and 2025. Got 15 minutes allocated for this, and I'm just going to go on my left and work our way around, and then we'll hit those that are online. Your committee discussion of goals for 2025, for 2025.
Yes, we don't have, like set in stone just yet. But what we have been discussing is the community garden, the tour that we did. We want to continue that momentum. And, the park, we also did before this year, we also did, the parks tours, and we heard firsthand from the members, there needs to be more clean, more garbage cans, and, like, the different needs. We sent out a Google Doc to the members so we can brainstorm on more realistic goals that we're able to do.
And Marie on licenses and permits.
Okay, so we have three for now. Me and Marie will visit businesses that are listed on the licenses and permits agenda. And I would like to have the committee attend the events that are listed on the LMP agenda and in the community. And, have public members attend events reviewed by the LMP committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of goals, not gonna remember all of them, but, I think one thing is for the committee to be more data driven. We wanna start identifying big landlords, including NYCHA, but also, private landlords, especially the ones that have been given a lot of, I don't wanna say handouts, but they're given a lot of, extra zoning and this and that. And especially ones like, I'll give you an example, Ascendant has come to Land Use and Human Services, I believe, they're doing the Beacon. And they have a bunch of properties in Harlem, and, when you go through their properties on their website portfolio, they have a fair amount of, violations for each property, complaints, et cetera. And I just thought that it would be a good pipeline to have that, almost like the housing committee would give a report card to the land use committee on upcoming applications if those people have properties within the community. I've already spoken to Jason on land use about this. He likes it. So I know often like I think a lot of people in housing often think that we handle land use things. We don't, but I thought this was a nice way to kind of cross collaborate and actually be able to provide, feedback and bring these developers in. And not make them feel like we're attacking them, but, work through solutions. One thing on license and permits that we did in my tenure was the stipulation form, right? That written contract, that actually, the State Liquor Authority then held applicants accountable. I'd like to eventually have something like that with the housing committee and developers. Commitments to, if you have existing properties, have those violations removed. And then it's not just existing violations. It's sometimes these buildings will get 200-300 complaints in a matter of less than a year. And they'll close them all, but it's a question why there are that many to begin with. And it's also not always their fault. You might find out that they might just have tenants who aren't paying the rent. And then in order to not pay the rent, will make claims on things that aren't real. It can go both ways. I just don't want to create an environment where we're hostile to any one specific group. And just kind of get a wide breadth of everything. There were a lot of other goals. I don't want to be too presentation heavy. I think presentations are good, but only if they're actually specifically related to the things we're doing. This is my opinion. I think oftentimes presentations are filler for when a committee can't figure out things that actually need to be done. 421A, there's a resolution. I know this has been kicked back and forth for some time. It's my goal to not have 100 discussions about things, get the facts on the table, make a decision, whether it's tough or not, and just make them, and then have data. That's the thing, just data. Violations, complaints, litigations, and then build inroads with NYCHA, which I think I'm gonna try to do with Xavier. Xavier has good inroads. He's offered to me to do walkthroughs. I would welcome my committee members, but at the very least, we're gonna start doing that. So, I'd like NYCHA tenant association leaders to feel comfortable to come to the board and open up those dialogues. So those are just some.
That's great. Thank you.
Well,
So I'll just speak to give us just real quick summary of some of what our immediate goals are. I don't know if we've listed them as 1, 2, 3. I know one of the first ones is prioritizing our budget priorities and ensuring that we we're not just coming back with the same language, but that we've taken time to strengthen the ask, really looking at the responses that were given to our request and seeing, is this a request that can be shifted? So in addition to the budget priorities, we've been throughout the year, we've been keeping a discussion of budget priorities, if you will. And we have a number of things that we've gathered and listed, and we want to be able to figure out which, so there are a lot of different issues that fall under our scope, and we want to really be able to figure out what is a budget item versus what is a letter to a specific person versus what is we need to get someone from their office in the room versus, what's the best avenue for advocacy and actually having an impact in the areas that we want to have an impact. So we're not, I appreciate that I'm saying that, just not being presentation heavy, but really being efficient and effective with who comes in the room. That's one of the first things, like our budget priorities. We articulating them, strengthening them, especially with data. Along with that point on data, one of the things I've been really pushing for is that we develop our own, studies and forms and surveys in which we can gather information directly as a committee, so that we can, use that to support a lot of what we are talking about as well. So that's also a goal. Yeah, I think I really said it. I think the biggest one is identifying all of the different issues we want to target and ensure that we're going about them the right way. What needs to be on the budget, what needs to be on the agenda versus what needs to be direct advocacy from a few committee members just being present for some things. So yeah.
Good, thank you. So,
So I don't hold chair, I'm treasurer, so I guess as treasurer, right, I can't speak for the committee, right? So I guess as treasurer, I'm putting my effort to sit in front with you guys and report back what we're doing with the money.
Jason and Nelson. Virtual on our committee discussion on goals for 2024-2025.
We have one simple goal, well, actually, two. The simple one is to get more participation from the district where, as it relates to landmarks and preservation. So I'm working on that now with the new vice chair on separating tasks and ensuring that we spearhead that sub portion of the committee while I deal with more pressing issues with, land use and some of the other challenges for the process. And then as it relates to the budget, the same way the SDN kind of sets the precedence for the whole board, I've been reflecting with the chair of SDN now, as well as our vice chair, on the points of agreement based off that discussion that happened in June with IDO. So we're going to look at that in the coming months to figure out 2025 how we can start tracking that fashion for advocacy for the district.
Thank you.
I wasn't able to fit into that.
Well, we had a conversation in June. I'm looking to potentially do a meeting in October because we want to review the past functions of the service side and make it more as a combination HR advocacy committee, both on the board side and on the staffing side, because it seems that there's always been like a slight disconnect on the expectations of what the board expects from the staff and the way it acts with the staff, and sometimes the way it speaks with the staff. So I'm looking to add more members to that committee that, based on the work they do on the board, is appropriate, and then work from there. Make it more of a holistic kind of committee, but where people feel that they're, you know, that their concerns have been addressed. That's.
Okay, we're talking goals for this committee?
For the committee.
Oh, okay.
Statement district.
Yeah, yeah, well, I think we discussed last night that our goal is to get the job done and get it done well. And to build a path for sustainable ongoing work of that committee based on the frameworks that we have in place. Making sure that everyone knows their role in the process. And that, you know, I think I'm just trying to get our little team to the October finish line. And then after that, it's, you know, following up the advocacy. I know we didn't get a chance to do district budget consultation, so we can work through that towards next year. And I think we have a good little group and we're gonna do great. So we also talked about the survey, and that being something that, you know, I think we talked about extending it past full board to the end of the month so that there was still opportunity after full board that, you know, people told somebody else after the meeting that they could still respond to the survey and get counted. And obviously, you know, we have 76 responses, and that's not a great number, but how can we as board members show up more to community events, table, raise awareness about the survey, and then, you know, boost hopefully for next year. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think I spoke to every chair almost, so thank you for chatting with me, and if we haven't spoken yet, looking forward to chatting with you so that we are all on the same page for next month. And I'm here if you need me.
Good, thank you very much. I think for this committee, what I would like to see us strive towards is being more present in the community. Let's speak up. Yeah, thank you. Long day. Just being more present, showing up at events. I mean, I remember pre-pandemic when Nilsen and we hit every single community event. That was like epic, that to the point that even Diana Yala commented, she's like, I don't know how we did it. We did. It's doable. I don't expect everyone on this committee to be at every single event. But I think if when we have these announcements or on your committees, you know, someone who has an interest in a particular subject, reach out to that board member and invite them. Say, hey, I'm going to this. I know you expressed that you love parks or that this was near you. I just want to make sure you knew about it. These things help sew us together and ingratiate us with the community we serve. I'd like to see it as a general goal, us out there. And again, when information is shared, we're pushing it out. That's part of our job. And it is a gargantuan task at times. For example, you know, just Pierce in the Vale or some safer housing, for example. If you don't have a good relationship or any relationship with the TA leaders, they tend to be very tight-lipped, and it's just the way it is. Luckily, through the course of time, I've been able to develop those relationships, and now they're open to saying, hey, wanting to meet some of the people from the housing committee with the CCOP meetings, the CCOP. That plays a huge part. It's taken this long with 1199. Fatima finally invited me to come to a board meeting. It's one of our largest Mitchell Lama complexes. And that's huge for all of us, because that's affordable housing. Franklin Plaza, affordable housing, but it took a long time. And Leslie Colon, who used to be a board member, her mom Myra, in the Second Avenue subway, for them at their board to take it seriously and say, yes, we can be active, we are getting information, and we want to share and talk. So we can all play our part. And it's a quick, like Rose is very good at just like hanging out WhatsApp, text, and hey, there's this event, and I don't mind it. I know some people will say like, oh, it's overload, but that is part of what we're supposed to do. And again, if I can be there, I will show up. And I think that, again, I use the word ingratiate, it makes people feel like we care and that we are willing to give our level best. That especially as we get closer and closer to term limits with the city charter, it is important that we do that, because we're going to lose a lot of institutional knowledge, and this committee And which the people that have been chaired and are now chairing committees, I'm gonna go to Jose, I've forgotten about him, I know he's not feeling well, he's under the weather. This will help pass that knowledge on, and it's not just our board that's having this challenge. During borough board this morning, they all talked about it. And so people that purposefully paired to pass on that knowledge, so that we can keep the ball going down the field. So that's something in general, for our goals, I'd like us to pursue, and again, reach out, text, phone call, email. With that, I'm gonna go to Jose. Can you can you speak?
Oh, I can speak. Hi, everyone. You hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Now I know why that owl zooms in really well and why I should never sit next to it again. I owe Jessica Elliott a phone call back for district needs, but my vice chair, Anne Marie, said that we are boycotting district needs in Echo Dev. We will not be participating in it any form in any way. So our first meeting went really well. We established some clear goals we want to do, not just what's been currently happening, which has been great with small businesses, but visiting more of the small businesses, getting something in place, whether it's a website, something we can do. But I recently, basically back in the days, if you remember, there was these printed maps of East Harlem, Fel Barrio, and all the businesses would participate. But this is well before the internet, right? Even though Google Maps is great, unless you know exactly what you're looking for, you don't know everything that's in East Harlem, right? Because the other day someone told me that we don't have good food, and I was like, oh, I beg to differ. So, I after the conversation there, I was talking, and Union Settlement actually has this tool already. I was going to give Anna Maria a call about this, but I learned that Union Settlement has a tool like this already, and then we can work with them to have something and maybe just forward it on our website so we can share it on both. But I do think that we need to move forward with our small businesses. We're also going to see how we can help them to get certified. Right now, the governor has a fast track for Hispanic businesses or MWBEs. They'll be certified within 30 to 90 days. But there's a lot of things that we're going to do going forward. And of course, we tackled district needs already very efficiently. We're probably 90% done, some edits. We had a couple of questions about some items that we have no idea what they mean. So after we get some clarity on that, then we will be completely done. So we're well on our way for October. And so it was a good meeting overall, good group. And we're looking forward to it.
Thank you. All right, good. Good, we're gonna move along to committee expectations. So I briefly touched on what our goals and expectations here for this committee, just to see us more out there, be more engaged, putting and activating. I'd like to challenge all of you to do that with your membership. Each of your committees say, I want you to rock up to one event a quarter if you can. Just come out. So we have just this last minute thing. I know it's 11 to 4 with Carrie King on the activation on her first. So if someone can pop by and just say hi. Or when Michelle Wilshire Clement was at Maggie's Magic Garden last Saturday, that she's being active and engaged and getting people plugged into our work. That's another way to activate. So some of the expectations is to get our membership plugged in right away. So it's not just one meeting, come on, and they don't know what's going on. You can show them the work. So that's very important. So the other thing too is to please go through, because each of our committees, when they were, some of them were merged, some of them had different purposes and were changed over time. Go through our previous positions and make sure that we're renewed on positions, we're current on positions. Because a lot of our state electeds and our city electeds and even our congressmen, their staff go and review to make sure, see where we are currently. So to make sure, go through everything for the past couple of years, because I know we're playing catch up with COVID even today, and make sure that we're all up to date on everything. And so that's the thing that I also have that we challenge you all to do as leaders on this board. So are there any other comments, people that'd like to share their thoughts on that?
Yeah, I got it. Oh, ladies first.
So when it comes to the disability form, that was an amazing tool that, Angel will take the credit. I'm kidding. But that's, like, a good thing to fill out, right? But if they do fill it out and they do send the email, but then they don't show, they don't come to the meeting, then that's an absent, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
So like, okay, I'm just saying, because I don't wanna like mark someone absent and then, oh, I sent them my disability letter that I was gonna be on Zoom or something.
But if you don't log in, you're not there. So it doesn't
Well,
matter.
I have a question. So is a disability form, because there's two ways to fill it, right? There's one where you do not put an expiration date. And it can be used at any time, or do you prefer that it be used for every event, like when you're not unable or whatever the medical situation is? What would be the preferred way? Just so I understand, and like other members have asked me the same question.
Angel, I don't recall when the new Google form.
Yeah, so the conditions are the same, like the forms is digital versus paper, it's the same thing. I think this question is to like the expectation of how it should be used.
Correct. Because if you don't put an expiration on it, then technically it could be used ever from the point you send it moving forward whenever it's needed. Or would you prefer that as you need it, it's sent on a meeting basis? The use of it, I'm more curious because I'd like to be in compliance.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a matter of preference on the receiving end, it's a matter of the member who's filling it out, right? Because it's a self-certification, so we're taking it on the word of the member. So if the member is experiencing a temporary disability, then they should indicate that and let us know when they're able to return. And if the member is experiencing a permanent disability, then they should indicate that. It shouldn't be used strategically, it should be used. The expectation is that it's gonna be used, honestly, and the members, are certifying themselves, so hopefully they're using the form in good faith. But in terms of on the receiving end on our side, operationally, one of the benefits of going to this online form, which we, thanks Rosa, but I copied it from my colleague. Is that, we have all the results on one page. So for example, tonight in preparation for this meeting, I make my attendance sheet and I note the members that have active disability forms, so that I'm then looking for them online. Like for example, I'm looking on the list to see, I'm looking online to see if you logged in so that I can have an accurate attendance and other members as well.
Hopefully that answers your question, Jose. I'm gonna move to Jason.
Long-winded explanation that I enjoyed. Thank you, Angel.
Jason. Yes.
Just on, we're still talking about today. For this.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
For all committees.
All committees,
It's a
yeah.
general discussion.
Well, I guess to your point, Xavier, about, the term limits thing coming up, like, I think, we here are the leaders of this board, and it is my opinion that it's our job to be lifting up everyone else on the board for future leadership in whatever capacity that looks like for each individual, so, I think we should be thinking about our succession as individuals and, sharing as much knowledge and, mentorship with the people around us so that people continue to serve on the board, and that when it does come time that some of us might have to step down for, one term or forever, that, we can pass the torch with care and consideration to the people who are coming after us. So, yeah, go ahead.
Just something came to mind, it's a little corny, but as Jessica was explaining. Years ago, Major League Baseball went on strike, and they lost a bunch of popularity. And what they did coming back is they added something to their broadcast. They added teaching to the broadcast. So they're doing the play-by-play and they're teaching why you would do this particular kind of move. Why, so they did it for like a number of seasons in a row. So that just came to mind that here at the board, right, like in preparation for the eventual kind of, shift in membership at the office, we can make things available and we've been trying to do that, via the resources that we offer you and on the website. But there's also like the personal touch, which is like what I think, what I'm hearing Jessica say. Like, I would suggest talking to your members and explain, right? Like, sometimes you'll hear me do it, like, someone will ask a question that you know the answer to because you've been around for a while. So then maybe, with a bit of grace, explaining to your fellow member that hasn't been around for a while, oh yeah, we took this position because, and it took us a couple of years and we're at A, we used to be at B, and try to like, not be long-winded like me, but like just give it in spurts so that people can start to get oriented. Too often, and I'm glad you guys are talking so much about the community engagement. Too often, folks default to we don't have, like when we hear them, we don't have good food, like Jose said, it's outrageous. We have all kinds of crazy stuff in this neighborhood. But with a little bit of grace to them is a matter that presents an opportunity to teach someone. Actually, we do have a whole bunch of stuff, let me show you. Or actually, we do have a position, let me show you. Or if you don't have a question, you can go here, right? Like we do have lists on the website and stuff, but you can also, talk to Isaac, he knows about this thing, talk to Anne Marie, she knows about that thing, and so on. And in that way, as people are onboarding themselves and going from a fresh rookie to a 1-year veteran, a 2-year veteran, that they're building up a bit, just through those interactions versus just they're coming, sitting here, being completely confused, leaving as confused as when they sat. Right, that's what I thought. When you
No,
said
I like the MLB, I remember that well. It's kind of like when we did the new member orientation on the 101st. They got a very distilled version of how we created the first Uptown Open Street, how we had Children's Aid that agreed to come back through activation, the 2017 rezoning, right down to Cicely Tyson, getting the street game over there. So they got a kind of real quick immersion, but taking that with the particular subject that may be discussed on your committees, take that and make it real world. Again, I'm just gonna call it housing, right? So you have the reso that you're dealing with, that's the impact of 421A. So telling that new members, like we had all these affordable co-ops because of X, Y, and Z, they've now sunset and the taxes are going up and how this is gonna have an impact. Explaining the pros and cons so that they can be more there. So I think that's a really great recommendation. Thank you. So thank you.
I just want to say that, that's what we did during Echo Dev, Jose's leadership, we talked about.
don't give Jose credit.
I am gonna give him credit.
Later.
And Marlene as well,
Marlene, yes, Marlene.
during our meeting, it was so funny to see the faces of the new members. When we talked about district budget, I was like, wow, that was me last year. I'm like, what the heck is this? And looking like, oh my God, Angel, help me. So yes, that meeting, we talked about what was the district budget, how that came about, the language. And seeing the members like, oh, I couldn't understand, that's what it means. And myself, I was like, oh, that's what it means. And it helped me, and it helped the members that I was good, and talking about EcoDev, how it came about, what EcoDev does in the community. That it was more like I guess EcoDev / district budget 101 for our EcoDev meeting, but that was great, because I think definitely I got more in-depth experience on the district budget needs now and Echo, and now the new members were like, okay, that's what it is. Great, let's do this. So that's how I believe it.
Excellent. Glad to hear. And with that, I think that is a wonderful segue to our next agenda item. Committee discussion on district needs and budget requests for fiscal year 2026. About 15 minutes in order, yes. Angel and Jess, you want to kick us off on this?
Yeah, so they I have my notes, in front of me, grab them. Last night we went through, just process, there's a lot of new members on the district budget committee, so we just went through like. What are we doing? It was really helpful, and I'm sure, if you need a refresher on all things district needs, it may be helpful to watch our meeting from last night. We talked about the district budget consultation with, Councilmember Ayala's office, some movement forward, hopefully with the sanitation garage CAG restarting, some, conversations across parks and theater elements. And then we talked about our conversations with each of you, that we've had so far. So, what each committee is sort of looking at, and I know, I think for housing, eco dev and licenses, I'm not sure that licenses has, budget requests necessarily, but I think we just want to make sure that everybody has a plan, and that like we understand together what we're all expecting of each other. So I think everyone that I spoke to had, a plan, which is great. And I think, it's just gonna rely, like, October is our deadline, right? And we need to be able to finalize our requests and priorities by your committee meetings respectively, which means, we sent out this email to the full board membership saying, here's a reminder of the process. If you want to contribute on anything specifically, that you go and attend those committee meetings and the work happens in those committees. But that now that we're past like discussion period, and this upcoming month is really like finalization period, that, changes to wording of the requests, or, asks about new requests, or ideas about like, heavy prioritization for a single ask, like that should be happening over the course of this month in the background, and that information from any board member should be received by the committee that it is relating to. I would say at least 48 hours in advance of a committee meeting, so that people have the opportunity to review someone's input, and that, the conversation can be more productive and quick at the meeting, because, I know you all don't want to be here till 9:30, 10 o'clock finalizing your budget requests, but, you will be if you don't, speak to your committee and reiterate the expectations. So hopefully, we can get people to collaborate in this way. I know, Rosa has a Google Doc for, environmental and citizen parks. I think, Michelle was talking about setting up a touch base, I think, with some people. So there's a number of ways you all can handle it. And I'm here for you if you need any assistance in that, or want to touch base about anything about district needs. But, when you guys finalize your requests, finalize your priorities, we have a great system, obviously, for, reviewing that within the district needs and budget committee. We'll, I think, work to, finalize and perfect where possible. And then, there will be time between when we do that and when executive gets to, continue to finalize and perfect. And then there will be, time ahead of the full board. So my perfect scenario is that there's no reworking or conversation about the meat and potatoes of what it is we're approving at full board. And that ideally, there's very little at executive. So, I encourage you all to make sure your members know what's going on, make sure that, you have the tools and conversations that need to be had, so that we can finalize in October.
Any questions? Any comments?
I have a comment. Sorry, Cam seemed to raise my hand.
On Jose?
Love everything. Just, in terms of executive, I do think that executive should become more like a quarterly meeting. I think that we need to train these, other than a real emergency, but for the most part, I think we are catering to people that come in late all the time, that don't have their things ready. And then we have executive, and obviously sometimes it's necessary. I know for December, we should be doing attendance from September, October, November, December, make sure that everything is going well and everyone's doing fine. But I still think, and I brought this up at the last executive, that I'm not sure if it should be a monthly meeting necessarily. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. We did have an initial discussion about, once we get through the budget process, because executive is part of that process. This is our first monthly meeting back October as part of our budget process. Executive does sign off on what the committee is going to submit before the full body, make any tweaks that are necessary. Typically, we try to keep that to the minimum so that the full board operates seamlessly. But we did have a discussion about potentially, as we move along, removing an executive committee. Or doing it as needed, but again, we gotta get through this process first. Go ahead, yeah.
I know, last, I think it was June, when we talked about this, when you first brought it up, Jose, we talked about like the state of the board, right? And I think to the point of the conversation that we just had about like leadership and transitions and making sure everyone is like, that we have a functioning board that, you know, we need to make sure that we are achieving that on an executive level, on a consistent basis. So I just, you know, that, you were away, Xavier, but we did talk about this and we said, you know, or I said that, you know, I think we need to keep meetings at least pretty regularly, just so that we can make sure that we're building the groundwork for our board to be sustainable and successful for years to come. So I know that's not. I don't want to be here every Thursday or every month either, but, you know, I think until. Yeah, we need to do what we need to do.
I think, yeah, so at this point, when it comes to budget process, we're here, and we have on occasion given executive a month off here, a month off there, and it was nothing pressing, so I think that's for the subsequent conversation, because right now we have the budget to tackle, so, yes, I know.
Oh, when you were done, I wanted to talk more about the
Yeah.
budget stuff.
Okay, great, because I wanted to get to budget stuff, so, go ahead.
Okay, no, I'm just gonna say, like, from, like last night's budget meeting, I thought was real good. I thought the members were very engaged, and though they may have started off a little bit confused, because we do have a couple of brand new members. I think by the end, I think the conversation resulted in them kind of understanding what the task is, and I think maybe I'm thinking too much of it, being a bit enthusiastic about the process. I've heard, you know, from the staff reports back, like the debriefs from the committee meetings, I'm hearing enthusiasm from the committee meetings, not all. But a few, and I was happy about that. In terms of the budget stuff, you know, if we can get the rest of the membership, right, like the budget committee is gonna like carry that heavy ball and push the whole year. So yes, but the other committees are so valuable to that process, right? To the extent that the other committees do nothing, the budget committee's hampered. To the extent that the other committees do a ton of good work, the road is easier for the budget committee. The conversation, I've been saying this for a few years, talking about district needs and potential budget requests, right? Throughout the year. And I keep giving Isaac kudos for this conversation that he's decided to do with his committee. Talking about it all the time, right? Like you're hearing presentations, you're reading information, you're learning about things, you're witnessing things in the community all the time. You're seeing what needs are, you're hearing what needs are throughout the whole year. Instead of the meeting, your monthly meeting just being like you're enduring it and then you're leaving, it should be an opportunity to learn something and make notes as you're going. And then at the end of the year, when we get to this part of the exercise, you're already ready. Instead of cramming, like you're eager to put your request down. Like, oh yeah, no, we've been talking about this for 5 months. We've whittled this down to perfection. You get enthusiasm from the members for the process. it is not, and I recognize, because I keep making this speech every year, I recognize you don't want to do it in September when I'm telling you to cram, because it's too much. I understand. But if we work backwards from there and start September for next September, you're not cramming, you're just ready. Right? Like you just got it. Just like you got your stuff, I'm like, there it is, finished, right? And then as it relates to the budget requests themselves, and we talked about this, quite a bit last night, and I've heard it referenced here by a couple of the members. It's so important to be talking to the agencies as much as you can and whenever you're able, in preparation for submitting requests that are in their language that they're gonna be able to respond to. If you're saying, you're pulling something out of thin air that has no basis in reality to that agency, it's just gonna be a dead request for years. And you're gonna have the two requests that echo, like, no one knows what this is. I'm like, yeah, because I remember when that happened. Someone just went blah, and it got written down. And now we're stuck, right? Versus, right, Parks and Youth have had a lot of success recently with some of their requests. They've spoken with their corresponding agencies and talked it through, talked with the district, superintendent, talked with the capital, the budget people at the Department of Education, talked with principals, et cetera. Talked with, chief of staff at the Department of Parks, and been able to vet their request ideas. And Parks can say, like, Steve Simon, which everybody knows, can say, yeah, we don't do that. Or I need 100 million instead of 5 million. Or I need it on the west side of the park because I already did the east side of the park. And through those conversations throughout the meeting session, by the time you get to now, you have clean requests that then will be more easily received at the agencies. And then, of course, just because you submit a great request doesn't mean it's going to get funded. It has to line up with their priorities. We have our priorities, the agencies have their priorities. At that point, then we're kind of hoping that we line up. And also hoping that through advocacy, through individual meetings, writing letters, testifying, pestering people, partnering with other organizations or other entities that share our priorities, try to get to the front of the line with whomever is actually making the funding decisions, and then at the end of the day, be able to check off as that got accomplished, that got accomplished. So one last thing I'll say, when we talk about this stuff and we run into some of the frustrating responses, it's easy to think this is a wasted exercise. But if we look backward and we look at a list of accomplishments, you'd be surprised how many things I've taken off that list that just we're now living with, right? Yeah, I'll stop. I promised to stop, so I stopped.
Yeah, I think it's explaining to some of the newer members, we said oftentimes a lot of our requests are work, we don't see the results in 10 years sometimes. We don't. Look at the fire watchtower, that's a great example. Remember that, Nelson? That was a request, and they kept putting more money and more money into the bucket when you get the nitric boilers replaced, because they have to excavate a lot of it. They just get dumped a little bit into the bucket, a little bit more into the bucket, the partial funding request. So to Angel's point, it's and again, put this on in committee expectations, and our goals is to, as chairs, those district consultations, get to know your agency reps. They do move laterally as they go up the ladder. So you will see some of the same names. Look at Tricia Shimamura. Okay, she used to be at the Borough President's office. Now she's over at Parks. And she knows what our priorities are. So that's an advocate to have there. Steve Simon, he'll fight with us, but then we have battles with OMB. But if we both get in line, it makes it tougher on OMB. And as a side point to let you know, even when both the agency and the community boards align, OMB can still be a pain in the rear. Case in point with the HERC, they had a commitment in the memorandum to restore after the work is gone, and now they're trying to skirt that responsibility and not restore it. So these are things that we have constantly having to face and challenge, but it is more rewarding. But I challenge everyone here just to have your members look at it from a long-term game. So that's, thank you very much for that. Has everyone reviewed last year's request and this year's? I think everyone feeling in a pretty good state right now. We're doing the work. Oh, okay, great. I am here at your service, so please, if you have a question, call Daniel. This is, this is what excites him every day. Wakes him up, he claps his hand, he goes, budget. So,
That's exactly what happened.
and full board.
Oh, especially football. It's all good.
So with that, I'm gonna give us, thank you, Jess, for taking this on. Now that you feel my pain, no, I'm just kidding. The full board, it's gonna be pretty straightforward, the hearing. Hopefully we'll have people come, keep it very tight. We don't have the agenda in front of us. Did that get printed?
No, I haven't even read it yet.
Yeah, so we'll see that, but we're gonna go in and everyone, let's try to, keep it very, like, we've been doing really well with keeping our meetings, keeping to our concise, minutes when we present the reports and our action items. I think it's showing that we're ready and engaged and we're like to the point. That will, I think, invigorate a lot of the board members to say like, okay, all right, I feel satisfied with this and we're ready to jump in. And so, yes.
So agenda wise, it's the two hearings that were mentioned.
Yep.
And I haven't heard about many action items from the committee so far,
License.
but the agenda, it's like 7.
Yeah.
But the agenda is gonna be super long because all the ratification from the August meeting.
Yeah.
So like when you see it and it's multiple pages, don't freak, it's just mostly ratification.
Okay, yeah, and I will try to bundle as many of those as possible. So the things, but yes.
And I just want to make sure that there's a slide that has the QR code for the budget.
Yes.
That's awesome.
When does that close?
We were gonna close it at full board, but now we're gonna extend it through the end of the month.
Through the end of the month, okay, that's
Because
Because
we're gonna encourage all of you to go and table.
Yeah.
So we can push and try to get more answers.
So
So that's like an extra week
yeah.
or 5 days.
Can we get like a little?
Yeah,
Can
anything I
I-
could take on Saturday.
Yes.
Like, if you have some,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, come by the office, you're around the corner.
Wait, but
Just self-delete, I need the packet, and they'll,
Okay.
and they'll set you up.
But tomorrow I'm gonna come and get everything for Saturday.
Yep, you got it. We got 4 banners now, so,
Oh, yeah?
yeah,
Yes.
so you might get the new one, you might get the old one, but it'll be a banner.
So, and also get it on your phone for right now, and put it on your
Yeah.
favorites, and then that way you can just pop it open and say, hey, scan this, fill it out real quick, it takes you a couple minutes. Yes, Jason.
I probably missed it. Are you done with the agenda item?
For today?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're about to move into old business and new business.
Okay, because I just have a comment on your action that's being taken right now with the, I don't know if some of you are familiar with the multi-service center, Beacon project.
Yeah, we had hit through that, but I can, if the committee's please, we can go.
There's a lot of head shaking.
No, we made it during the announcement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did the state of this news and announcements, but yes, we'd like to speak on it. I'm giving you an opportunity, Jason.
Jason, I would like for you to speak on it. I don't know.
No, we made it. Let's talk. This is now, I mean, meeting.
It's a unit of action that's happening, but I'm just making sure that the other chairs are familiar with it, right? So that way you're educating and conversing with your committee members. So it doesn't, every time there's a unit, there tends to be a lot of controversy. Feeling, right? Kind of just like the district meetings, there's a feeling of throwing something at the wall and hoping it sticks. And as chairs, as leaders, we need to be logical and advising our members, practically what's realistic and not, right? You're Echo now? There?
Cherry license,
Okay,
but I'm vice chair of ECHO.
all right, because I do know that the multi-service center is concerned with nonprofits that are currently there and they're dealing with the developer. So, I don't know if that falls under economic development or human services.
What you mean they're deal making with them? What you mean they're deal making with them? Like, the conversation.
So there's existing nonprofits that are there, right?
Where's
it's the ones that have
where's
to
this
get-
first?
First, I'm not going to.
You know, let's mind the crosstalk real quick, so, you had a question.
This is on 120th and. First. First, yes, but it's the multi-service center, so there's a bunch of different social service organizations inside.
That's the old summer youth.
Yeah, so some of
Yes,
us.
Operation Fight Bank.
Yeah, district, we would call it HRA, right?
Yeah.
It's like the local HRA, but it's an actual organization that's operating. The concern is the existing nonprofits being relocated and then coming back. Of course, the developers telling us they're gonna do everything right. Which is exactly what they're going to advise us. But, you know, I'm not as concerned because I know that the council member, who's also the deputy speaker, is gonna also hold them to account when it comes to the yearbook. But I'm just checking, engaging if there's been any discussion, because, as it comes time for us to vote, outside of, I cross collaborated with them, who down in housing chair, I haven't really heard anything. So no news is good news until it's time for full board, and then there'll be some uproar that I meant happens to me.
Yeah. So I think, thank you, Jason, for saying that, so. I'll preface what I'm saying by saying we have a completely new committee, literally, like, it's only 3 people in our committee that have been on the board. More than a year. So a lot of the presentation is folks hearing that type of a project taking place in the first place. There was questions, I definitely had questions about, timeline. You know, they said they were trying to move people out in the next 6 months. I also joined Jimmy and was trying to prepare the timeline. So when they said they wanted people to move out, so they wanted to stop development. They're having some issues with, finding the right location for each organization, because East Harlem is so block specific in a lot of ways, and that you can't just take something that used to be right here and put it even on a diagonal corner, because it may create issues for so many people. So that was, concern that, because my question to them was like, well, what are the biggest concerns you are hearing? And it was more like, I want to know, but also the community to hear. So that was kind of what we were sharing back. But we didn't really poke at them for a number of reasons. One, because I had a fresh committee, but two, I'm like, well, this is licenses working. I want to focus on the budget right now. So.
Yeah, I think it's good. Usually, sometimes what ends up, it's kind of like this, the supporter project that came up a year ago, right? 2 years before that, we approved 4 of them. There was no issue, but there was a specific issue. And it's not logical, right? In my opinion, it's emotional. It's based off of politics or rhetoric. So I tend to set the conversation of understanding that we asked for this. And I'll also agree that we wanted it. Right, which is kind of the same arguments we have with supportive housing with a particular group of individuals that wanted to tell us that we wanted to exploit East Harlem to more disenfranchised individuals as opposed to helping our brothers and sisters. And I take the same initiative when it comes to this, that not everything is conspiratorial, but it is the right of the district, the members, because like somebody told me the other day, it's real simple, right? We're giving away our land that we own, so we can rent it. Right? We're selling our land for $1, so then that way we can rent back whatever services. So there is an obligation in that RFP to develop or committed to a lot of things to HPD, but to hold them accountable. It's just always in their interest to see if there's any other concerns that come from the district that, it doesn't take much for a campaign to get pushed and oversight.
So you saying that makes me think of a few more things that also came out of that. One, how is people's space going to be when they came back? Or if they had promised people to have more space, or is there, how is enhancing the folks that were already there? They said they didn't promise people bigger space, but tried to make it. I mean, probably in between the lines, it just kind of sounded like you should be happy with the new space that we use.
Well, I'd
better than the space you had last.
So during the presentation, what I would recommend, they did say if there are any questions that they can send, and they'd be pleased to answer them. So what I would recommend is to consolidate them. And round robin email to all of us here, so we can get those over.
Yeah, but we didn't have any questions. I'm just telling
Oh, yeah,
you stuff
but
that
like-
came up.
But even if you have questions, let's send them over.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm recommending, so I got three, I think I saw Emery, Steph, I just wanted.
Well, hold up, lastly.
Yeah.
The last thing was that, I mentioned the concern about, understanding when you sell your land and they build these buildings way up, usually the people on the first floor are not the building owners and really have a lot, they have to endure all of the plumbing and a lot of the issues that come from the building that they necessarily didn't have before. So I did ask a question about how that was gonna impact the multi-service center, but they said it was two different buildings, so that was reassuring, so, yes.
So, Emery.
No, Stephanie.
I just wanna understand what is their request? The request is to build a mix, there's like. I don't understand, there's like empty property there that they're gonna build the building there, or, cause I know this is like the Barrio Center that's been there forever.
We definitely could talk offline, 'cause we have all the information on our minutes, but.
So so they're presenting to us in full board.
Yeah.
It's complicated, but.
They presented.
I would love to speak to that.
Yeah,
And this would have been only in land use, right?
They're coming out, right?
So.
They're coming to
I
housing.
invited them.
Okay,
because they're-
never mind, housing is good, I love housing now, so yeah, we're good.
Coming this way.
I just want to clarify, I am the director of the multi-service center. So I am involved with the conversations from the beginning to where we are. It is, Stephanie, it's the same school that was created as a multi-service center that's been there on 20. It will be a gut rehab. Where they will put in normal plumbing and everything, the elevators and everything like that. And they want to rework the spaces. That they've already consulted with the existing tenants and have shown the spaces to them and have gotten approved from that. So that's the multi-service center. The other project is the affordable housing unit that's gonna be built on the back of the space, because it was a huge parking lot. And then the multi-service center split their lot and built Acacia Gardens. So Acacia Gardens is right there. Now the multi-service center is now giving up the auditorium so that an affordable housing unit can be built, a 21-story, I believe, can be built in the backyard. And then in exchange for giving up the auditorium, on the multi-service center side, which is originally a basement of 5, they're gonna add another floor, the 6th floor, that will be for community use and different things like that. So there will be all new plumbing, all existing plumbing, the spaces will be done differently. In a way to have the programs share space where they felt they could share space and be separate when they needed to be separate. And then they are revamping the outside, the exterior, to be welcoming to Wagner projects, which is Wagner Way. And so if you look at the meetings, you can get an idea of that, so. It's not like they're gonna just go in and patch up walls and everything's gonna stay, it's an actual gut rehab. And which is what the community wanted when it did its, charrettes. And so, just so I could clarify that.
And you can check it out, the land use meeting is online. That help answer, Emery.
No, I was just coming back to me when I was in the DRI local planning committee. And this is one of the proposals, right, the beacon, and I remember they mentioned that they were going to place the people that are not tenants in the Acacia building. I believe there was some space there for now.
Well,
And then bring them back.
there's some space in the Acacia building that may have some relocation, but not all programs are going in there. And so the developers have looked at one site, they have presented it, and the tenants that saw it did not, in the discussion, the place it was decided that wasn't feasible place. So now the developers in consultation with us, I'm aware that they do have different spaces that they're looking at. And once things get a little closer, they'll discuss that with the tenants themselves.
They also mentioned that they were going to rent the space at an affordable price for those
Right, it's gonna be, right, it's gonna be a certain range, so they'll speak more about that, but. I just wanted to clarify, because it seems to be having some confusion about the renovations, so like that.
And one of the, wouldn't the 21 floors kind of like go over Wagner projects, or is it the same?
No, it's gonna be be behind the multi-service center, and it's gonna be far away from Wagner, that's not gonna impede. Their view, right?
So check out the presentation. Okay. Very nice.
To speak to your members, because you see what just happened here with executives, right? So let's try to have this conversation with our members before the October meeting.
Please, Jess, and then Andrew, just wrap us up.
Yeah. Just really quickly, I think it is our job as a community board to approach projects with a healthy degree of skepticism, right? I think, like to Jason's point, this is something that we asked for. And I think HPD, we need to start looking at as a community board as more of an ally to our work. This is the deep affordability that we're asking for, and develop this, these developers are making it pencil out, right? And when they came to the community board multiple times, like when I say multiple, I mean multiple times. And we said, we want deeper affordability, we want more apartments that have 2 and 3 bedrooms, and they come back and they make these changes, and that is not easy to do both of those things at the same time. So I think we should ask these questions, we should be a healthy skepticism, where possible, but I think we have to identify also where we are getting what we want, and that these people are partnering with us in a way that is getting greater achievements for what it is that we're doing together.
Thank you, Jess. Andrew.
Yes, exactly. So, not exactly what Jessica said. So this project is the result of this community board asking for 100% affordable since the beginning of time. And through those conversations, engaging with HPD for many years, up to and through the East Harlem neighborhood plan and the resulting East Harlem rezoning and its points of agreement and the subsequent request for proposals that was informed by this community board. We contracted with George James through the land use committee to design several development scenarios for these sites. And one of the proposals that we submitted through that exercise is literally what is being built there. So I could not agree more with Jessica's comments about healthy skepticism, but in terms of like the bulk of this proposal, where the building is, what the size of the building is, how many units, levels of affordability, the, commitments to the tenants of the multi-service center in terms of like they're paying for their move out, paying for their rent, paying for their move back. All that was discussed through conversations here at the community board, at this one, this CB11, like in your lifetime, not in 1970, like recently. A lot of time invested in these conversations to not remember that or not pay, respect to your own work, that would be then a waste of your time. So just, it's very important not to, and I'm not saying by this to rubber stamp, ask all the questions, but in terms of like not even the broad strokes, like this thing is like, it's like you wrote it, right? Because you did. And that's what's coming at you. Like, so if there's details in the fine, on page 700 that you have to ask about, by all means. But I think, acknowledge that you're getting what you asked for and be happy about it, because you're gonna have a whole bunch of new neighbors gonna be really happy to live in a great building, and a whole bunch of service organizations that are gonna be, everybody nitpicks, but they're gonna be happy about, a new place. Like that place was not built to be a multi-service center, that was built to be a school. And we squeezed the multi-service in there, and that helps so many people. And they're gonna continue helping people in a great new space, so we should ask the questions to make sure that, all the Ts are, dotted and all the Is crossed. But, we're getting like, like, I could show you the documents, well, you can find them yourself. This is a really good thing, it's just like Jason said with Imbala Terrace, we literally asked for that. Right, that other folks. Had issues, that's fine. But we literally asked for that, and once that's up and we're enjoying the jazz center and we have enjoying all our new neighbors, like we're enjoying all our new neighbors all throughout the neighborhood, like some of these are market buildings that we have nothing to do with. But a lot of these are stuff that came from literally this table. Like I mentioned that the land use committee, like thousands and thousands of units, and someone asked me like thousands, I'm like, literally. Thousands from this table, from you all talking about, so pat yourselves on the back and keep your eyes open.
Thank you. Okay. Very good. With that, we will see each other full board. Any old business? Any new business? If not, we'll call the roll.
Committee members, when I call your name, please answer present. Jose Altamirano,
Present.
Stephanie Arroyo,
Present.
Dan Brihan, Rosa Diaz,
Present.
Jessica Elliott,
Present.
Nilsa Rama,
Present.
Claudia Perez, Asher Rodriguez, Xavier Santiago, Isaac Scott, Anne Marie Vasquez,
Present.
Jason Villanueva, Michelle.
I'm present. Sorry, I can hear you. I just
I
couldn't.
got you.
Yeah.
I got your comments. We have fun.
Claudia Perez is present too. I
I
didn't hear
got
my
you.
name.
I got you. I called them, but I'll be back.
Okay, so just making sure.
Actions will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
I'll tell you, but you know what, a committee meeting. That's a straight.
Is the recording on?
And that's why I'm bringing it up.
Is the
It's a waste. Oh.